specifically going to get into what Phoenix Labs has been doing and Spark's multi-chain strategy. And I'm looking forward. I'm just going to turn it over in 15 seconds over to Sam to introduce himself and lead us in that conversation. But just briefly want to welcome Robin to the call, Robin Nagpal of DoDAO Academy, that most of you, I think, who are here would be familiar with Robin for the great work that he's done on a Maker AI chatbot. And some of you mentioned this in your ecosystem intelligence reports. And we're so happy at Refi to recruit Robin to support MakerDAOs as an ABC member, along with Mike of Abundance DAO. So we'll be talking more about that, and we've posted about MakerDAOs sort of dog fooding the process of retroactive funding. I mean, we're trying to put some of our values into practice here. And so we'll talk about that more maybe next week and in the weeks to come. And we'll hear more from Mike and Robin in the weeks to come. And I think that's a good layup for you, Sam, because here at Refi, we love the values that Spark put out right at the very beginning, about how important it is to support public goods. And you were very forceful about wanting to share profits with Aave, since Spark is a fork of that. And I remember at the time that was maybe a little bit controversial. So I want to turn the mic over to you, but just wanted to definitely at some point here, we at Refi want to hear about your thinking about public goods. And there was a little bit of controversy over the how the profit sharing would be implemented. But first off, let's hear from you and tell us about the multi-chain strategy, L2 strategy, anything else that you want to share with us today.
Cool. Thanks, Ganga. So my name is Sam. I'm a co-founder of Phoenix Labs, and right now we're focused on building Spark protocol. We are a smart contract dev shop that is actively contributing to the pre-launch Spark sub-DAO. And yeah, I guess recently we've been focused on going multi-chain. And this is really a continuation of the, not exactly the same, but a continuation of the strategy that we were doing in protocol engineering under Maker Core. But under the new endgame paradigm, it makes more sense to have these new innovations and expansion move out to the sub-DAOs. So yeah, I guess I can run over it a little bit. We just deployed recently on an instance of SparkLend on Gnosis chain, which was really great. And already there's been 15 million of assets deposited in there, including some from Gnosis / Karpathy, who does treasury management for Gnosis. They've deposited some seed liquidity there to just get the market going, see if there's demand. So that's been up for like a week now, so it's still pretty early stages, but it seems like there's some users starting to use it. Additionally, they deployed a version of Savings DAI on Gnosis chain, which has gained a lot of attention. That seems to be all the rage right now, is integrations of Savings DAI, which is really great. Get your TSR yield and then continue to use it in TradFi. So there's also been other proposals that have been put forward on the Spark sub-DAO, in particular, one from Polygon ZKVM for a deployment of Spark on their new chain, as well as there's been a proposal from ZK Sync, which is really nice to see. So as Phoenix Labs, we are happy to facilitate deploying SparkLend instances to these up and coming L2s and sidechains. And as the sub-DAO launches, presumably if SPK token holders want to continue down this path, then we are happy to facilitate that.
Thanks for that intro, Sam. Certainly, everyone here who's here is welcome to speak at any time, come off mute, or um, you definitely put your comments and questions in the chat. And we have a question, Sam, from Ikagai. Are you thinking of using ERC 6551?
What is that ERC? I don't know that one. Okay. I don't know what it is, so I can't really comment on it. So maybe. Ah, okay. Yeah, no plans to use that. I don't know what that is. Sorry.
Okay. Another a question, Sam, that I have is if you could talk to us a little bit about your structure, how you're operating as as a prototype of a sub DAO. I mean, to what extent in what you're building is specifically for Spark, or being built for other sub DAOs to adopt. I mean, I've watched some of your presentations, and there's some talk about like kind of conduits and modules, and being really not a technical and engineering person. Could you talk a little bit about that, about some of the engineering work that's going on, and whether how the approach is meant to be usable by not just Phoenix Labs or Spark, but other future sub DAOs?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all the work that Phoenix Labs is doing, both for Maker Core as a contractor, as well as for this sub DAO, also as a contractor, is all open source and free for others to use, of course. So this is how we get this positive sum environment going. Everybody contributes, everybody can use each other's codes, and we all just build a much better DeFi ecosystem because of it. Um, so yeah, what does this look like? Could you refresh me on the second question? What exactly were you looking for, Kyunga?
Well, it was
Ah,
maybe the conduits is something that I've heard your team present about, but I have a hard time exactly understanding what that is.
yes, yes,
And so
yes,
there
yes,
may
the
be other
conduits.
not super protocol technical people who are here on the call who will watch. So maybe if you have like a plain English description of what are the conduits and how that's working.
Yeah, I think the best way to think about the conduits is exactly in the instance of Sparkland. So Sparkland has grown massively in the past few months, precisely because it's using what's called the D3M. Maybe some of you are familiar with this older terminology, but conduits is like an upgraded version of the D3M that hooks into the new Maker allocation system, where the sub DAOs are free to allocate. So you can think of conduits exactly like this relationship. So you have some protocol that's very cool. In the case of Sparkland, it's a fork of Aave v3. Um, and then you connect it to Maker's liquidity. And the conduit is the mechanism by which you get access to DAI's liquidity. So Sparkland is just the first, we wanted to do a first example of what is possible with this, but this is completely open to everybody. And once the allocation system goes live next year, there's all kinds of innovation going on in the ecosystem. So like it could be lending markets, could be decentralized exchanges, could be cross-chain liquidity networks, fixed rate protocols. Anything can plug into Maker's liquidity through this conduit system. And um, Phoenix Labs' hope for Spark is that Spark can be one of the more DeFi, deep DeFi oriented sub DAOs that can facilitate the connection to these protocols. Because of course, Maker and the sub DAOs are underwriting the credit that goes out. So there has to be due diligence performed in the same way that you would do due diligence on any real world asset investment. you also need to do technical due diligence on protocols to find out where the weak points are. Have they been audited? Is there Lindy in the protocol? Stuff like that. So we're looking at Spark as a way to facilitate that. And it looks like there's lots of questions.
Yeah, let's see. Bona Publica is asking about the base community. Yeah, let's take that one first. Are you involved with base? Are you talking with them?
Yeah, we have communications with most of the L2s and side chains. So most, if not all at this stage, are aware of the process that's involved right now. So again, because the allocation system is not live, Maker cannot actually allocate any credit to these other chains, only on mainnet. That was the exception that was made for this interim period. So it's on the chain or side chain or L2 to submit a proposal that includes seeding liquidity. So for example, with Gnosis chain, their treasury has allocated 5 million DAI into the DAI market under the same conditions as mainnet, such that it's a way to prove out user demand before, and once these all build up over time, Maker can come in later on and just double down on the chains that have proven success.
That makes sense. Let's see. The next question from Bona Publica, I guess, is about user metrics and seeing a lot of active wallets on the platform. And are you worried about people gaming the airdrop? Or I don't know if yeah, anything else you can share about, and I guess maybe that's combined a little bit with True Name's question about how internal sub-DAO governance will work once the tokens are airdropped and farmed. So yeah, how are you thinking about your users and their gaining access to the airdrop and what that will mean in the future?
Yeah, so first about the airdrop, the nice thing is that it's proportional to the capital allocated. So this isn't like a normal airdrop or less more common airdrop where there's issues of Sybil resistance. Because it's pro rata the capital, you can't really game it. You can on the margins, but not really. And what we see is a lot of user activity picking up, which is these smaller users who have been depositing ETH and staked ETH and then borrowing DAI, which is precisely what we want to encourage. Get back into the retail market and get people using MakerDAO directly. So in that sense, the airdrop appears to be a big success so far, I would say. So yeah, we haven't seen any gaming. Okay, and the other thing, how will the internal sub-DAO governance work? I mean, that's a good question. So again, I'm not representing the sub-DAO here. I'm representing Phoenix Labs. We are a smart contract dev shop, and we do the technical side. So for the DAO, sub-DAO, it's a DAO. So others are free to get involved and form the governance. So Maker had some rules that they define, that's been defined in the end game for what the hard rules look like. But beyond that, I think it's up to the sub-DAOs to emergently decide these types of things. And there has been some rules defined in the interim of how the airdrop is going to be sent out in particular. That was voted on by Maker governance holders.
Yeah, I think that'll be something a lot of us in this call will have to get our heads around, which makes me think about the next generation Atlas and Rune's meetings about developing these governance tools. And I'm wondering how much your team is thinking about kind of what we're about to tackle on the governance side. this machine readable data set that's going to, prescribe those rules for, I guess, what you have to seek permission. And again, I guess to your point, Sam, you're making an important distinction that I find helpful, which is that you're representing Spark, the protocol out in the world, but your company is Phoenix Labs. And so then Spark DAO is really at this stage a kind of nebulous community of whoever wants to get involved. And you've recently, in the last month or two, have a separate server. And so I think that's a distinction that is maybe not super obvious to a lot of people. So I'm glad that you highlighted that, and that you're kind of like a service. But to be fair to say, a service provider in the sense of Phoenix Labs is like working on the technology.
Yeah, exactly.
But the question about the sub-DAO governance and things, I mean, this is not really what you're thinking about every day.
Yeah, I mean, we're interested to see how it turns out, but yeah, we're just one of many service providers.
So then there's a question about, right, okay, you've answered about SDI. Let's see, where are we? I think Navigator's up next. Asking about our relationship with the Aave protocol folks. There was, kind of there were some negative comments, several weeks ago, about how the profit sharing was going to work. And Navigator, I'm not sure if you're also speaking about, there was also a snarky comment on Twitter, some salt, because I don't know, someone took issue with the fact of us, MakerDAO, claiming to have, created the contract. Or I don't know. Anyway, just love to hear your take on community relations right now. What you thought about, kind of the controversy over how the profit sharing would work, and and then just these sensitivities around, I guess, forking it's maybe controversial, is it, to fork a contract? And then, I think I took issue with some of the discussion on crypto Twitter. What do we call it now? Crypto X? I don't know what to call it.
I still call
That,
it
there
crypto
wasn't
Twitter.
any credit being given to the original devs, which I thought is, absolutely a ridiculous allegation. So yeah, what's the latest, and what are your views on some of the controversy?
Yeah, crypto Twitter and controversy, that they kind of go hand in hand. Me personally, and as Phoenix Labs, when we crafted that agreement, definitely like fully intended like pay, and Maker has accepted this. So actually, I think there have been profits generated into the sub DAO, or actually call it revenue rather. So there is that, and now that we've reached the end of the quarter, the first payment should actually go out for that, and I'm fully in support of that. I've always publicly said I'm a big fan of the work that the devs have done, and have always given them credit for that. I can't speak for everybody everywhere, but me personally, I've always done that, and yeah, I think there's room to continue collaboration with the Aave team.
All right, let's see what else we have going in the chat. There's some discussion about token bound accounts, like soul bound tokens. Let me know, Ikagi, if there's something you want me to ask Sam directly about that. I think you've answered the question about whether forking Spark is a public good.
I mean, fork away. It's all open source code. Anything we develop. Happy to support the ecosystem.
Robin, you're a doxed person. You can come off the microphone and speak. It's just our ADs often don't want to reveal their voice.
Okay. So Sam wanted to know, what are the solutions you're planning to use, to, like, for fragmentation of liquidity on L2s, right? So as it's deployed and all. I think I've not like followed any of these solutions like which try to merge the liquidity on various like L2 chains and all. Anything Spark is planning to use for that?
That's a great question. So there's a number of things. I think say first and foremost, Maker has a huge superpower here in that Maker can supply just-in-time liquidity to every protocol at once, and really, it's only limited by the user demand on the other side. So much in the same way in Sparkland. If Maker deploys, initially it deployed 20 million of capital into the market, but that capital has no opportunity cost to Maker whatsoever. So that 20 million can go out to 100 protocols, and there is math 2,000 or whatever, or 2 billion DAI sitting in all these markets that's not utilized. That's the key part. If it's not circulating in the marketplace, it's unutilized, but it's ready as soon as the borrower posts some collateral and then borrows the DAI. At that point, it enters circulation. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, yes, we are looking at transport methods of transport between the multiple chains. So there's lots of again, like I don't think we need to build this stuff internally. There's lots of existing protocols that do this really well, like Hop or Connext or whatever. And the sub-DAO doesn't really need to pick a winner here. The sub-DAO can just allocate to all of these protocols at once, and then whichever one gets the most usage, Maker can just double down and keep providing more liquidity to that network. And the transport is, again, another interesting case where unlike where you have to pay a liquidity provider to keep that idle liquidity on all these different chains, Maker can supply to everybody, and there's no opportunity cost because the DAI is not in circulation. So this is a huge advantage over fiat-backed stablecoins that DAI in particular has, because it is decentralized stablecoin and can mint into these other protocols.
Got you. Thank you. Thanks, Sam.
Let's see. Another question from Bona Publica about loyalty or long-term borrowing incentives that you're considering and other partnerships that you may be exploring.
Interesting question. I mean, the problem with not allocating directly to capital is it's really hard to fend off Sybil attacks. And so I personally believe this stuff is going to be solved eventually with some of these decentralized identity solutions, but it's not there yet. So we're just kind of like a more sit back and see what emerges. And again, I don't even think we need to pick winners with a lot of this stuff. Like you can just Maker and the sub DAOs can just allocate to everywhere, and it's really on the end protocol to build out their program. So maybe there's a new protocol that has an awesome loyalty program that works, and the Spark sub DAO or any of the other sub DAOs can just allocate to that protocol, and they can do what they do best.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And there's a lot of discussion that I've heard from Rune on various podcasts, kind of talking about these competitive dynamics. There are the rewards. There's a financial incentive in place for the different sub-DAOs to take risks, but also, that they'll directly, bear the brunt of making bad decisions, and that the beauty of the end game design fosters that, and our job will be to steward the rules, ossify the core, and create, the right balance of I guess powers and permissions and restrictions, so that there really is that freedom of exploration and experimentation. Um, yeah, I think in terms of the rest of Bonapublica's comments, I think we already kind of talked about the governing. I think you already answered about your feelings about the sub-DAO and mini-DAOs governance by the token owners, that you're sort of agnostic, I think was my take on what you were saying. You're focused on providing a service to the sub-DAO. No, that's okay, Motopublica. We've been covering a lot of ground. Let's see. All right, Mike, I'm going to ask you to come on the mic. Mike, since you're also docs, we can hear from you directly. Maybe if you want to share your comment that you put in the chat.
Sure. Yeah, so I put it in the chat. Basically, my question is, in what's Spark's approach, or what's your approach to basically public goods, or how you view like others forking the protocol? Is it more of, let's develop the protocol as much as possible and just make it as robust for our particular purpose, and then if others want to use it, that's great, that's our contribution? Or is it more of, let's see what kind of issues there are outside, what other players in the ecosystem are looking at, and how we can kind of collaborate and build something wider? Like, I'm sure there's everything in between, but I'm just curious, what's your approach?
Yeah, and I assume when you're talking about the protocol, you're referring to Spark Lend and
Right.
the lending market. So, I mean, this is precisely why we didn't brand it as Spark, because Spark, to me at least, is not about one particular lending market. It's about providing access to protocols that are specialized and competitive and do what they do best with the liquidity of Maker through the sub-DAO. So if somebody comes up with a lending market that caters to some other market segment, they should be connected into Spark just the same as the Sparkland instance. Sparkland is more meant to be like a proof of concept of what's possible in this new endgame paradigm, more so than this is the only thing that will be part of Spark sub-DAO. But of course, these are just suggestions. The SPK token holders are the ones who are going to be deciding everything.
But in terms of like the wider ecosystem approach, is it more of like building out your product, or is it more of let's build something that can be as useful as possible to the ecosystem, not only as Sparkland, but also as other forks of it that can generate this flywheels and so on?
Yeah, I would say more it's the latter. To me, it's more about connecting protocols with DAI liquidity than Sparkland. Yeah, I don't know how to be much more clear than that. Maybe I'm missing the point of the question.
No, you got it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay. Yes, with D3M, it's conduits now, but yes, it's the same idea.
Questions, comments in the chat. I want to say hi to Chris from Sovereign Finance. Thanks for joining us. And certainly, if you have anything that you want to ask Sam or contribute, you are absolutely welcome and encouraged to come off mic or drop something in the chat. I think that if we don't have any more pressing questions or comments that people want to get into, I'm happy to give you all some time back in your day. Just pause and see if someone is typing. Branding, how you are branding, in what sense? The story. Okay. I guess maybe from the top for those who are newer to Maker and Endgame and Spark, what's your story?
What's my story? What, from the beginning?
That's a lot of story. Actually, Sam, maybe, yeah, I don't know about kind of maybe a little bit your history with Maker. Okay, no, I mean, that's not what that's not what's being asked. It's sort of, okay,
Yeah,
narrow it
that's very
down. I think this is
simple.
a good question. Like, what separates Sparkland from Aave? What's the competitive? I mean, I think I know stable rates is something, or not stable, predictable rates, right? I mean, maybe that's really actually a great question.
Yeah,
Why would someone want to use Spark versus the competitors?
yeah. The value prop is very straightforward compared to Aave. It's the rates are lower for high capacity. So you pay less at Spark for DAI borrowing specifically. Because it's connected to Maker, in case that's not clear.
But now, isn't there? I mean, the idea of predictable rates, isn't that also kind of a feature, something unique that Spark is offering, or as part of your pitch?
Yep, predictable rates. So much, it's like combining the best of both worlds. So at Maker Core, previously you could open up CDPs and you would know the rates would not spike to 20% for a day randomly without any warning. And in the Aave market, you can use all these advanced features of a lending market. So the idea of Spark is to combine the best of both worlds and then get an advanced lending market where the rates don't spike when there's liquidity crunches. That's the idea. Predictable rates.
Cool. Well, all right, everyone. I think this has been, I mean, Sam, thank you so much. It's always really great when we have the folks in the trenches join us here, because we can be getting a little bit of a bubble, and you really shared some nuances that I know really I hadn't seen or understood, and I'm sure that's maybe the case for all. We do have another question before we go from Nyx about, in short, why the airdrop is a success in terms of retail users.
Well, we're just seeing collateral come in with really small borrowers. So to me, that's a mark of success, where these users are borrowing like 10, 20K. I don't know if they're specifically just farming the airdrop, but they may be moving their positions over and also want to participate in governance. It's hard to know exactly what people's motives are, but things are looking good from what I can see.
And of course, this was a real issue with Maker Core, pre-endgame becoming, non-economical for small users, and the the whole project drifting away from being able to serve retail for a variety of reasons. Sam, do you get the sense that so Maker broadly is earning back some cool points from people who were maybe not as well served? Is there still that association with Spark? I mean, do you think the users understand what's happening at Maker, and they understand that Sparkland is a part of Maker, but it's different? But here we as a larger ecosystem, as a larger project as a whole, are now through this new structure finding ways to serve, folks who maybe have been alienated over recent years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Spark, I think, is just an example, and this is what we intended by building it, is we want it to be viewed as an example of what's possible in the new endgame paradigm. So I think there's some excitement because it's visible and you can see it. But and the larger thing is we want to promote the new paradigm in DeFi that is the endgame plan. It's very exciting. It's a chance for users to get involved at the ground floor again, and Maker to reinvent itself as a new hot thing on the block, I guess, in the next round of crypto. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Sam. I know we at Refi, our adoption and usability and access, all of that's really important, and I'm excited. I think in the next several months, when we get closer to sub-DAOs actually launching that for regenerative finance for refi projects, I just love to figure out how we at the ABC can really help it become more transparent and friendly and accessible, that projects that, and so it was also great to see the adoption and the integration that's happened with SDAI and with the enhanced DAI savings rate, because something we've been talking about at Refi ABC and with MakerDAOs is how projects that may have a small treasury could be thinking about this genesis farming of the sub DAOs, and actually then having governance of an allocator DAO, and using what Maker's building as their sort of infrastructure for their regenerative finance solutions, so that the more grassroots refi projects are not trying to solve for markets, solve for liquidity, and solve for all the hard DeFi stuff, but that by becoming part of what's happening at MakerDAO, they can focus on their expertise in science, or their expertise in regenerative farming, or local communities. So that's what the opportunity that we've seen to be involved in governance, and with the sub DAOs that are launching, and hopefully over the next couple months the messaging and the momentum I mean, I know the momentum is going to continue, but that we can figure out the culture piece, the communications piece, so that it's not so intimidating to approach what the opportunity is going to be over the next couple of years. I mean, it's a very long-term incentivized grassroots genesis. There's no sub DAO tokens. I mean, it would be a shame if it's really heavily farmed and utilized by only super well capitalized and people who are very close to Maker. So I hope, and I know I talked with Robin and Mike about this, that we can get the message out, so that we really have a lot of diversity and interest in the farming, but also really participating and being part of the community, and developing each of the allocator DAO programs going forward. So, okay. So if there's nothing else that people want to discuss on this call, I think we can end a little bit early. Let's see what 0x Defensors typing. Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. Pardon the background noise. I will drop the link of the Spark DAO Discord in the chat when we wrap up, in case anyone is not over there. There is a channel here in the main Maker Discord where you can direct questions about Spark, but it's worthwhile to also join their separate Discord. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, morning, evening, and we'll see you around and meet again here next week. Bye-bye.